Welkom bij Diversity Stories. Dit is alweer de 5e aflevering van onze podcast.
Ja.
En wij zijn...
Silas.
Nina.
Bloemie.
En in deze aflevering hebben wij 2 items.
Ja, eerste item over cultural awareness in education.
Gezien vanuit de mode. En het tweede item is onze column Nobody Cares.
Over gentrification.
Cultural awareness in education. Daarmee beginnen we. Cultural awareness in education.
En wat zien wij onder cultural awareness als host?
Ja. Cultural awareness, dus bewustzijn van cultuur in de opvoeding. Volgens mij heeft dat heel veel te maken ook met de opvoeding op school. Hoe je bewust wordt van het verleden. Dus,
Wat voor geschiedenislessen je krijgt, überhaupt wat voor lessen je krijgt en dan waarover en wat besproken wordt.
ja, en andere culturen daarin. En nou, ik denk dat je in Nederland natuurlijk heel goed als voorbeeld... Indonesië bijvoorbeeld, daar wordt niet veel over verteld, denk ik, op de scholen. Of überhaupt over het slavernijverleden. Dus dat is bijvoorbeeld iets waar bewustwording of waar bewustzijn noodzakelijk is, denk ik.
Ja, ik weet dat toen ik op de middelbare school zat, heel lang geleden, dat wij wel films moesten zien die dat heel duidelijk in beeld lieten komen. En best wel gruwelijk en zo. En dat ik... Ja, dat werd wel besproken bij ons. Ja, maar dat kan natuurlijk anders zijn. Ik weet dat mijn broertje het eigenlijk er heel weinig over weet. Dus dat kan heel erg verschillen.
Ja, ik weet van mijn middelbare school dat we het nauwelijks over de slavernij hadden. Maar ik denk dat we in Duitsland gewoon heel erg druk zijn met de Tweede Wereldoorlog daarover te praten in geschiedenis. Ik denk dat dat eigenlijk bijna het thema van de geschiedenislessen is, eigenlijk.
Ja.
Ik ben wel benieuwd hoe dat zit in de fashion.
Nou, laat maar snel luisteren.
Hi, my name is Hester Brands.
Hi, my name is Chad Buchter,
Hi, my name is Chinook Felique de Miranda.
and as 3 students of the MA Fashion Strategy of Generation 26 and Generation 27, we are constantly challenged to pose questions towards the fashion system, which includes the structure and content of our educational program. Today, we would like to share our critical stance on the fashion education system, inspired by a recent article on ID.com regarding the diversity and inclusivity of Dutch fashion schools.
So, about a month ago, I did a DNA test, and I already knew that I was super mixed race. So I expected a lot of diversity within the results, but I could never pinpoint the percentages, and overall I was just super curious to find out what types of heritage would trace back to me. And when the results came back, I was super shocked, and even more shocked than I thought I would be, because there's about 11 different cultural identities running to my body as we speak. And this also kind of explains why I never felt like I culturally belonged anywhere. So taking this DNA test was a part of a research project I did for my school course that resulted in an extensive process of quote-unquote finding myself. So for our master's program, you start the semester with a course called Visual Strategies, where you're supposed to basically break yourself down and build yourself up again in order to find your visual identity. And it goes without saying that this concludes a lot of soul searching. And for me personally, it was the first time a teacher told me to, in order to find myself and what I stand for, or where I want to go and what I want to portray, I have to look back and analyze the things that shaped me to what I am today. So for me, this resulted, amongst other things, in the DNA test. And the looking back part was one of the biggest and most intense parts of my process, and I never realized how much this affected me as a person. Within the first year of our Master in Fashion Strategy program here at ArtEZ, we have only 10 students, and we are all from different cultural backgrounds, and it's inevitable that aside from your personal growth within the program, you also experience the process of your peers. So, although nobody speaks English as their first language, it has become a soul connector of our relationships. And I think we tend to forget that you learn more from people when you have an active relationship with them, opposed to people that are explicitly trying to teach you something, especially when it comes to culture. So, have you guys ever experienced, or during your time here, have you experienced a positive or negative effect? Well, mostly let's talk about positive. Positive effects of being so interlinked with people from different cultural backgrounds.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like I grew up in Amsterdam. Personally, my close surroundings are predominantly European white. And coming here, like most people are still white, but it has like the differences in culture and the really like it's in the small things basically. And it's really nice to get to know each other like that, or from or being people from other cultures, but at the same time these people are not a representative for the whole culture.
No.
Yeah.
And that's what I sometimes forget, that like we have for instance a classmate who's from Mexico and another classmate who's from Brazil, that if I talk to them and they tell me about their culture or about their home, that I must remind myself that it's their personal experience of their culture and not the culture in its whole.
So,
Yeah.
But yes, I really like talking to the others about where they're from and how like they don't eat sandwiches with cheese in the morning. That's really like typical Dutch thing.
Yeah, like you learn certain things from certain cultures that are different to the stereotypes of what we perceive them to be, which is very important, because the only thing we have, or a lot of us have, is the stereotype idea of what a culture is.
Yes. And of course, that's maybe a lot like a logical way of thinking, because you would like to maybe fantasize about what it's like it's somewhere else, but at the same time, you have no idea because you're not part of that.
Yeah. But by learning about someone else's culture, I have experienced that I've learned also a lot about myself.
Yeah.
And that's very different from...
Also because you have something to compare it to.
Yeah.
You know? Yes. Which is nice.
What I also really like from this course is that you just said it, like most people are still white.
Yes.
But I do feel that the way in which this course is built, and the way in which we look towards fashion and towards culture and towards art and whatever, is that the sort of predominant white gaze is also questioned. So if you think back to your first episode about cultural appropriation, I feel that at our course we are questioned to think about the repercussions of our choices and the cultural repercussions of our choices, and it is not stimulated to just take something or just take inspiration. Or
it's also nice that you point out now that it's a choice.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not just something that happens to be bestowed upon us. It's always a choice.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I wasn't really aware of that choice before. I was aware, but I wasn't super aware that this could be a thing that you can experience within an education. Because in my bachelor's, which was also an art academy, it was never really implied that in order to create space for yourself in our multicultural society, you need to pay attention to what's happening around you and where things come from in order to grasp that and to create for yourself. And it also means that you should be aware of the space other people and other cultures occupy around you.
Yes.
So
The awareness and realization.
yeah, so tracing back to your episode about cultural appropriation, which has had a lot of controversy in the last couple of, what was it, months, years,
Yeah.
years. Like the lack of cultural diversity within schools and in the fashion system, and the fact that there should be given more credit to the rightful owners of the cultural artifacts should also be a point of discussion in the school narrative. As we've mentioned before, there should be education before teaching creatives how to design, or implying that you need to look around when you need to for inspiration. Like,
Yes.
how can you use that?
Yeah, and how do you choose to use it also?
Yeah.
And how do you choose to not use it because you understand the situation where you are in and you understand your bubble basically from where you're from. So that also includes like what you did, maybe your DNA or your to really uncover your cultural background, but it also has to do, I think, with looking at the class, your class, like who are your parents? How much do you earn? Like, is it easy for you to live a normal life compared to maybe others who are not in the same situation or privileged situation as you? So
The thing is, though, with cultural appropriation, there's a lot of accusing and people demanding credit or demanding apologies or demanding collaboration. But I think I personally feel that the conversation a lot of the time ends there with complaining instead of actually working what we are talking about. Like, I haven't seen a school system kind of besides this one that really focuses on, and even this one doesn't really focus on
it's
cultural education. Like, I feel like there should be a mandatory like cultural studies
Agreed.
subject somewhere around
Agreed.
creative education.
I think that should start in primary school actually.
Yeah. No, it should be
Yeah.
introduced because we live in a global society. So why not teach about global systems?
That's indeed funny because I think we all had social studies at high school.
Yeah, but social studies
Yeah,
were
but-
bounded by like Dutch social,
Yeah, true, but
just social,
like for me,
social.
in my social studies
Yeah.
course, there was quite a lot of how do you say that? Attention to multiculturalism, for example.
Really?
Yeah.
So for me, in middle school, I had one chapter about Suriname, and then in high school, I had one chapter about Suriname, and that was only there because the Dutch people colonized
Yeah.
Suriname.
Yeah.
So they needed to explain why Surinamese people were here.
Yeah, I remember also my history lessons at primary school and also high school, like the golden century, and
It was glorified.
it was glorified, like really, really glorified, and nearly no mention, actually basically no mention whatsoever about the effect the Dutch had on the people that were living there in these colonized countries.
Yeah, I remember one time when I was little, I think I was, when you have your first, like, you have to present and you can pick your own subject. My mom pressured me to talk about Suriname.
Yes.
So I was like, and there was a lot of pressure on that presentation. So I had to bring the food, I had to sing the national anthem. Like, I did everything. I taught my classmates about the power structures of white people and how the society was built out of different, like, nationalities that came there to work and to deprive the land and blah, 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 blah.
But this is the thing.
But I was 10 and
Yes.
kids were shocked,
Yeah,
but
I
also
understand.
mesmerized. But
Yeah.
every kid in my class knew where Suriname was, what
Because
the people
of you.
what the people look
Because
like.
of your mom.
Because of my mom.
Yeah, but this is also the thing that I've realized that that usually this education also comes from black parents or international parents.
And mind you, my parents they don't look black.
Right.
I don't look black,
Right.
but they are like the epitome
Yes.
of a mixed race Suriname.
And they
Family,
understand,
yeah.
like they have lived through this power structure, so they are able to tell
Yeah.
you in this case what they have lived through. But for me, it was completely different being all white and coming from all white parents. That I had to teach them
Yeah.
to not be stereotyping like either Surinamese people
Yeah.
or Moroccan people,
Yeah.
and these were people that I went to school with.
Yeah.
But my parents, they went to school like in an all-white community, an all-white society back then.
But was your class were there a lot of?
Yeah, it was
other
very
cultures?
mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very mixed.
Okay, so that's also the
only,
difference.
Yes,
Because
but
you got taught by your classmates basically, and I
Yes.
was the only not white girl in I think
Yeah.
three of the
crazy.
3 grades.
But I
And
still, even if I went to school with mixed race people
Yeah.
or mixed races, I still didn't understand that. For instance, black people have just a couple of strikes against them compared to white people,
Yeah.
and it only dawned on me when I was actually reading stuff basically on social media.
Really?
Yes.
Social media enlightened you?
Yes, and me doing this essay and reading the Gloria Wekker book, or sorry, if I can refer back to the cultural appropriation episode, the first episode, I did an essay and I read about Gloria Wekker and her experiences as a black woman.
Yeah.
And this is also because I don't have any black friends.
Yeah.
It was really that, yes, I really had to really search for this
So I
information.
grew up in a small town. It's called Alphen aan den Rijn. It's near Leiden and Gouda, and I moved to Rotterdam for my bachelor's degree, and that was the first time I was like, oh my god, I'm not that special. It's like
You're not that different
no,
anymore.
oh my god, there are more people like me. So for me, it was moving to a bigger city where there's so it's Rotterdam is like one of the most multiracial cities in the country. So that was almost like a culture shock. Like I could get Surinamese food on every corner of almost every street. It was really enlightening. So I never realized I had a
Your
few
culture
stripes
was
or
represented also.
Yeah, it was so different.
Yeah.
But nobody taught me that in school, and I thought that during my bachelor's degree and also doing a creative studies that would be more incorporated, like something like global studies or like cultural diversity or something that I would get educated on, that aspect of creative life or globalization. But even in art history, it was like the most, like Basquiat was probably the only black artist that really,
Yes.
or Josephine Baker.
Yeah.
Those were the only two.
Because of the banana skirt. But
Yeah,
not really
yeah,
about
yeah.
Josephine Baker.
No, because it
Yeah.
was controversial and it was
Yeah.
like expressive and it was different for that time. But even like in art history, there's, I don't know,
It's
my
white.
yeah,
It's white
well,
art
my
history.
experience was
Yeah.
white.
Yeah, but I don't think that's just your experience. I
Yeah,
think that's
no,
just
that's ours.
the experience.
Yeah. And also in our history books, I remember very clearly, like there are these pictures of the Dutch really like having victory because they were celebrating they were celebrating that they had colonized this country,
Yeah.
and that, you know, standing on top of a heap of black bodies, like triumphantly.
Wow.
I remember this very clearly.
Mhm.
And in the rest of the history book, a lot of the native people that lived there were portrayed as villains who had to be destroyed to be able for the Dutch Empire to prosper. And that was the only goal, for the Dutch Empire to prosper.
And where I got the most of my cultural education was Disney, which was really weird, but I like Mulan and Pocahontas and Aladdin.
So this is also important, that representation matters, really.
It was really, and you see it now a little bit more. Like, I think it was
Princess and
Time
the
that
Frog.
had the black ballerina on the cover.
Yeah, the Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Panther,
Yeah, Black Panther.
better late than never.
Well, yeah, it took some
Yes.
time, but that's actually a very positive or a good example of what education or cultural appropriation can mean,
Yes.
because
When put into an
like the
appropriate
right
context.
yeah, because the references throughout that movie, have you
Yes.
seen it?
Yeah, of
Yes.
course.
Okay.
2 times.
Oh, okay. No, but the references throughout the movie, like the fashion references, are so on point. They're so educated. And like the scarifications and all the
Yes.
like the
Jewelry.
braids, the jewelry, and like when people watch movies,
The
they get
headdresses,
they get immersed in a narrative, and often they wonder about the narrative, which makes them feel, it makes the perceiver feel less forced into learning something.
Yes.
Like it's a more natural or casual way of learning about someone's culture.
Agreed.
And
That's
I
why
think that's-
representation
yeah,
matters.
that's-
Yes.
Yeah,
really-
I think that might just be the only way that we can sort of change the way in which art education and fashion education deals with these problems, to find a way where it is no longer sort of top down. What you said, the forced teaching.
So
So I think it might be very interesting if we as students start to sort of demand this, and
Demand the
not
supply.
only demand it, but make the choice to organize it ourselves.
Yeah.
So sort of take the reins into your own hands.
And also maybe have a bit more people of color in positions of teaching. Because we are,
That would be nice.
especially in my
I
last...
like the teachers, but no, but it would be interesting just to
Yes.
see how that would
Yeah.
work, because
And they could teach us, like, I don't
Yeah.
really want to learn about Black history from a white person. I want to learn about Black history from a person that actually has experienced the history firsthand.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if it is taught again by white people, it still becomes this sort of
But even like
indirect,
yeah, I agree.
not the full experience. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, because so besides Black culture or like cultural appropriation of Black Americans or Africans, we in this program or our year, we also talk a lot about, there's a fascination with Asian culture.
Right, Japanese,
Wabi-sabi,
yeah.
Korean.
Yeah.
It would also be super interesting to learn this from an actual Asian
Agreed.
person, because we went to Paris 2 weeks ago, and we actually met with a Japanese buyer, Mr. Kurino, and learning or talking to him about his culture and the way he perceives things is so much more
Valuable.
you just take more from it than learning it from an academic written essay or somebody that teaches you
Or a white
about-
teacher.
yeah basically.
Yes.
In a way, what I think we're trying to say is that I think there is a real possibility for us students to demand to change our education from within and to sort of
Yeah, the thing is, like, we are now super aware of the
Yeah.
fact that this can
happen. Yeah.
and this should be kind of our responsibility
Yeah.
to like change or to
Mhm.
enlighten the next generation or to push that forward
Yeah,
and to keep it going,
yeah,
because now it's the main subject of conversation.
yeah.
But it will die down because there will be
Do you think?
yeah, because there will happen something else, or like news is ever changing.
Okay, but
So
Yes, but I think this is more than news. It's about the
course.
experience of a whole like people race. So I don't think this will die down soon. I think it
I
will
don't-
just become more and more in depth.
But
Yeah.
I think that even if sort of all the media exposure or the attention for example Black Lives Matter movements or sort of the re-evaluation of the value of black culture, that might die down, but I think that it will sort of trigger a new way of thinking in regards to our culture. And
Let's hope so.
yeah,
Yes.
that would be that would be, how do you say, the best option. I think is that this whole, it will in some way trigger the way in which we regard culture, in which we regard fashion and arts, and that we will no longer take for granted the way in which we are taught certain things, but that we
Yeah.
start asking the questions ourselves again, and we start, but not only asking to our teacher, but also asking to ourselves and finding new ways of building educational structures that can really lead to a more diverse, a more inclusive, a more, but also a more
Interesting.
sustainable and interesting
Yeah.
fashion, art, culture,
Language.
world, language. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
But
don't know,
I do
think,
feel that there is some sort of spark in a way.
Yeah. And the spark keeps on going. I just think that it should be like how it should kind of be institutionalized. I don't know if
Yes.
I'm saying that
Yes.
like, right, but
Mhm.
the change should be molded and stated.
Yes.
Like it should be a new mold for
Yeah.
something that that is either mandatory or normal
Mm-hmm.
for the generations that lie behind us.
Yeah. And I think also the first step is then to also for the older generation to really recognize that this is happening. Or like all generations, really,
Yeah.
and of all societal classes to recognize that this is actually happening. Because I sometimes feel that this debate is very much for like higher educated people. On the other hand, there's also social media that makes this debate very democratic
Yeah.
and also like a low threshold. But at the same time, there are words that are really that mean like that have a lot of meaning around them, and like they're sometimes really difficult to process or
Yeah.
to really communicate what it's all about. And that is also what I find difficult personally, is that I have trouble sometimes talking, as I am now, about these problematic subjects. It's also like recognizing
But
and learning the word even problematic. That this
But
is
imagine if you would have been taught that from an early age.
exactly.
Then it would have been
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
easier
Or
to.
or at least at this age where you are very susceptible. Yeah,
Yes, it would just be
Susceptible.
easier to approach the whole subject. And that's kind of what I
yeah.
preach. What? Yeah, no, that's what I wanted to state with the introducing of a new form of education within, or a new form of
Yeah.
awareness within the fashion education.
Yeah.
And not only fashion.
No,
I
not
think-
only fashion, but fashion
Yes.
has a lot of influence on the on people.
Yes, certainly.
So it would be maybe the easiest way to start,
Yeah, I think so too. I think it because
or the most approachable way
yeah,
to start.
Yes.
no matter how you classify fashion, we will always need it. We will always need
Clothes.
to cover our body.
But maybe not fashion, but
Yeah,
more
but I
like
think-
dress.
Yeah.
but
clothes.
but then
Yeah.
I do think that through fashion as a system and through fashion education and fashion thinking, that we can truly sort of spread this whole
And
that we can keep
expand.
this spark burning in a way.
En dat was het eerste item van deze aflevering over cultural awareness in de fashion en education.
Het volgende item is Nobody Cares.
Het is inmiddels al de 5e column van Azu en Zaide.
Ja.
Die, zoals altijd, een beetje zeikend over verschillende thema's praten. En vandaag praten ze over gentrification.
Ja, wat is gentrification? Ik weet eigenlijk heel weinig erover.
Nou, volgens mij gaat het over de ontwikkeling van steden. Dus hoe bijvoorbeeld wijken die wat arm zijn of zo, hoe die langzaamaan hip worden. En door die hipheid van die wijken moeten andere mensen dan daar weer verhuizen omdat ze de huur niet meer kunnen betalen. Dus eigenlijk is het stedenontwikkeling, is dat Nederlands?
Urbanisatie?
Ze noemen dit item ook Flow My Hipster Tear.
Nou, dat past heel goed. Flow my hipster tears. Dus je moet denken aan de hipster koffie.
Tentjes.
Ja, en waarvoor andere mensen moeten wijken.
Naar andere wijken.
Naar andere wijken wijken.
Oh.
Ik zeg, doe jij iets met woorden of zo?
Nee.
Yellow rug holds the meaning of life. It's the key to the parallel universe, a psychedelic medicine that will heal your soul.
Nobody cares. I can't have any local food, even though I'm a local.
You know what? Nobody cares.
We are stuck on a piece of rock hurtling through space at 1,000 miles per hour, with a finite shelf life full of uncertainties.
Join us as we complain our way through the dizziness towards a modicum of joy. Have you ever felt the mortal danger posed by a bicycle? Or let me ask you this, have you ever been to Amsterdam as a tourist?
The cyclists in Germany aren't as aggressive as that, but I can say I had a couple of close calls.
Oh, I have a feeling that somehow Amsterdammers hate tourists. Even tourists in Amsterdam hate tourists. You know, and in general, all around the world, there is no patience for mesmerized zombie tourists, I think.
Oh, can we truly blame anyone?
No.
I mean, I know there's no avoiding tourists or even being one. I mean, I am a tourist at the moment, but no one really has the time for that either.
Exactly. I thought I hated Amsterdam too, but now I see I actually hate the tourists.
Says the woman planning to fly halfway across the globe for an exotic vacation.
Well, nobody cares, but yes.
Well, global tourism is no friend to locals or locales, but there is no escape from it either. What bothers me constantly is losing good little shops, bookshops, cafes, you know, all the hole-in-the-wall places that disappear through waves of gentrification.
Yeah.
I hate it both as a resident and as a tourist.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it's one of the reasons I'm here now, actually.
Yeah.
And my little shop back in Istanbul was a victim of that. The landlord thought, oh, so many tourists here. Let's build up a new big restaurant instead of those pesky little designer shops. The point he was missing was there would have been no tourists in the first place if we weren't there, actually. And voila, there are none now. The shops are rented to small designers again. I see it just lately. But the kind of tourists they wanted aren't coming anymore. Istiklal is a big fool. I mean, Istiklal is is a square. Is a street in Taksim Square. It's the biggest shopping street in Istanbul. We have to maybe clarify that. And Istiklal now is a big pool of Middle Eastern men walking hand in hand, all wearing identical white headbands to avoid getting blood in their eyes from the bleeding hair transplants they just got. It's really, really very weird.
Okay, I have to see that for myself again. So on top of the rampant gentrification, they somehow managed to repel European tourists and attracted Middle Eastern ones instead. I mean, business is business, obviously, but I really can't wrap my mind around the fact that they thought selling people what they already have back home was a viable business idea.
Well, that's the sad story of Grand Bazaar of today as well. Remember the good old days that we were complaining about the crowd in Grand Bazaar? Well, last month it was only me and my friend walking in the alleys. No one, not a single person was there. They are also paying the price of looking down on their potential local customers, I think.
Well, they were supposed to think about those repercussions before offering those, Germany-only deals for 8 days, 7 nights, all-inclusive vacation packages for, spare change. Meanwhile, charging the local tourists an arm and a leg for half the services. Sustainable business, ever heard of it?
Obviously not. And remember how excited I used to get about trips to foreign countries? That was before moving to the Netherlands, I have to say. I lost my interest for all those beautiful buildings, museums, amazing landscapes. I see them every day. After a certain point, all European cities started to look, blurring into each other, and I'm getting bored. Nowadays, I'm mostly interested in small local shops, diners, cafes, and it's getting harder and harder to find them, as you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. As a local, I'm doomed to Bauhaus and IKEA. But seriously, there's no little hardware shop in our city in Germany where we live now. There's only a Bauhaus. And as a tourist, I find the same offerings even at museum gift shops in different countries.
It's so annoying.
Postcards, the same umbrella, the same everything.
Well, I have been to Denmark recently, and I left the museum shop without buying anything. Can you imagine? Nothing. Not even a postcard. And in Ghent, a couple of weeks ago, we ate Italian. I mean, I have to say it was super, super tasty though, because we couldn't find original Belgian food. And I have to say in brackets here, okay, it was Easter and half of the city was packed and the other half was closed, but still.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Also, raise the pot. My father-in-law recently visited Berlin and brought me presents from Muji.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because the alternative is either selling a kidney on the black market for some, really unique design product, or getting something from those design shops that look identical everywhere and probably get their products produced in China. So do you think you could have found really good traditional Belgian cuisine on your Turkish own?
No, never.
And finding local food is hard enough for the locals, nigh on impossible for tourists. And once it is discovered by tourists, you can just kiss it goodbye. Because then it will have to adapt to a foreign palate and become something else.
True.
Also, exoticization works in a different way about food. While unusual clothing is just that, unusual eating habits are met with at least aversion and more often than not with disgust. Imagine all those YouTube videos featuring usually American tourists exclaiming about what the locals are eating whatever it might be, like raw minced meat, crickets. Shocked, I tell you, I'm shocked. They're eating intestines. Ew.
Yeah, only if they have ever tasted cockroach. I have. Come on. It's delicious. But even if it doesn't adapt to the taste, they get bigger and then lost. I mean, the businesses. Why is it so hard to stay small and local, good in quality, and ethical and sustainable, and etc., etc.? Why we can't sustain with what is enough? Or wait, did I go too existentialist here? Like, yes.
Yeah, a tiny bit. Yeah, on one hand, I understand and share your feelings. Yeah, on the other, I can't help but contribute to this system.
Yeah, I mean, me as well. That's the most frustrating part. Being aware of that I'm a part of that system.
Remember the little rundown quarters in Istanbul where you used to live? First, broke students flocked there. Then came the artists. And after the artists, they were hip. And who needs a mom and pop hardware store in a hipsterville? So more artisanal pizza parlors and more artisanal cafe and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad to become more artisanal, to celebrate the handcraft or skills or whatever, but we all know that half of the time it's a big fat marketing monster. I like the second-hand approach here, though. It's something we never got experience back in Turkey. My most joyful activity here is going through second-hand shops, both online and offline, and reuse stuff. Think about all those cutlery or ceramic sets that stays still in our mother's apartment.
God,
they haven't been used for 20 plus years, and will we ever use them? The outmoded, hideous tea sets our mothers kept in the depths of their cupboards to avoid embarrassment if and when the Queen of England one day visits them, no?
Oh God, yeah. Well, since I spent my first 3 years here in a tiny village, I didn't really get to discover like as many second-hand shops as you did. But I worked on my in-laws' considerable collection of old stuff.
It's really considerable, yes.
Like, yeah, so you know, but for our audience, they live in this like big detached house with, I don't know, 10 or more rooms. Like most of them closed up and used as mostly storage space.
Brilliant idea, yes. Yeah. Fill them all.
Yeah, and I mean there's obviously lots of junk, but there's also like really really good stuff buried in there, and so some of their stuff I repurposed for myself. For my own use. Some of them made into presents for some friends even, and some I convinced them to donate. That was actually a lot of fun.
Well, here in Netherlands, I guess it's a tradition stemming from the religion. They tend to keep rooms, especially kitchens, I have to say, clear and simple,
really?
Avoiding ornaments and unnecessary items. Nothing on the counter. Everything is hidden behind doors and cupboards.
Wow.
Well, it's very distinctive, and while you know how to spot a Turkish from the look of the kitchen, no? A yellow cleaning rag lies beside the sink, must have a cutting board behind the tab.
Yeah. My very own blue cleaning rag was hanging from the faucet waiting for me when we just moved into the new flat.
No, like I have a yellow rag resting on the counter right now.
It was there, and I just, left it there like I don't know, like a little sacred thing. But my question: how did they know? I mean, my landlord is German, and his originally like Swissish wife has spent so many decades in Germany. She's practically German as well. How did they know to put it in?
Well, yeah, there was a misunderstanding about the color. Obviously, it shouldn't be blue. But
yeah, but still.
Yellow rugs holds the meaning of life. And they are key to the parallel universe, a psychedelic medicine that will heal your soul.
Amen to that.
This is also Aksu, up-and-coming complaint master of Arnhem and sought-out troubleshooter.
This is Zaida Fürstenberger. She who is doomed to weird names and the resident crone of southern Germany.
Signing off until our next anxiety attack or whatever.
Nobody cares.
Dat was alweer de 5e aflevering.
Yes.
De 5e keer Nobody Cares, dus ook de 5e aflevering van de Diversity Stories.
Diversity Stories is een initiatief van Studium Generale ArtEZ.
En voor deze aflevering speciale dank aan
Hester Brands, Chet Burter, Chinook Flick Di Miranda, Azo Axel en Saïde Fürstenberger.
Voor meer informatie, kijk in de show notes.
tot de volgende keer.
Dag!
Daar.